The Path. Chapter 1. A Public Blunder. Fall had been coming to a close, and Kai sensed the gradual difference in weather with each passing day that led up to his 16th birthday. He wasn't sure what it was about the darker days of the cold season that often threw him into a state of asking the bigger questions of life, but today, with his thoughts on starting the path and making his way to the known unknown, the only question on his mind was what could possibly be waiting for him within the next few hours. Though the sun rose across the grey sky, it remained covered by clouds, as the atmosphere was laden with enough fog for him to see just 3 to 4 feet of the road in front and behind him. As he trekked the frost-laden dirt between various oak trees, he moved further and further into the moist, covered air. Something was different. He began to sense he was not alone, that he was being watched. Like that sixth sense someone gets when another is staring at them, and when turning to look, they come to find their suspicions are exactly as they suspected. Turning around and looking at the path behind him, he found nothing but a small road that quickly ended 3 feet from where the wall of fog began. "I can't lose it when I've only just begun," he said under his breath before making his way forward again. He felt an innate sense of courage and adrenaline, but not adrenaline born out of fear, rather adrenaline born out of power, drive, and a spirit that had become wholly intimate with competition. For the sake of reaching the path's end, Viking. For glory, he thought, I will show the world what it means to be a Langer warrior. Snap. Kai heard a twig break, and looking to his right, saw a shadow figure suddenly emerge at incomprehensible speed from the fog. Before he had time to react, he found himself laid out flat on his back and slammed against the rocky road. "A true Langer warrior never leaves his guard down," screamed a voice he was familiar with. It was Halfdan, his best friend. "And a true Langer warrior doesn't take cheap shots," Kai retorted, getting up angrily after being tackled. Calm down, brother. You know I can't have you walking into the known unknown without being on your toes," Halfdan laughed. Halfdan was significantly taller and darker than Kai. Kai was shorter, had greyish dark blue eyes, and a head of hair that resembled his father's springtime wheat harvest. Halfdan had hair as black as the Langer cloaks, with brown eyes and brown skin. He carried a muscular complexion, and the two had been rivals practically since Halfdan came into the world 6 months after Kai, which rivalry only escalated as soon as they both began to walk. Halfdan's family, alongside Kai's, were middle-class farming Karls, but Kai was notoriously known for neglecting to respect the social class differences that others took precautionary notice of. Kai saw no difference in himself when compared to the Jarl up the road who had finer clothes or wielded a finer blade, and in fact would often become verbally belligerent towards these noticeable differences. He seemed to take pride in his humble beginnings, but this kind of pride often got him in trouble. Once, when gathered in the longhouse with nearly half the village, Kai volunteered to step up for storytelling. He conveyed a narrative of Karls being sent to the front line of battle with gruesome depictions of slaughter and death, while the Jarls sat in the back lines on their horses and gave orders. Then, the leading Jarl got nervous watching other people fight, Kai continued in front of everyone, and so, pulling up too quickly on his horse's reins, he broke a nail. Screaming out in agony and pain, 3 Lakeneers quickly came to his side and bandaged his throbbing finger. When the battle was finally over and the Langer tribe won, the Jarl was rewarded immensely and crowned with honor upon his return home for his brave and courageous, awe-inspiring military strategy. The end. Dead silence filled the hall before the next storyteller volunteered. Kai's father scolded him, while Bard, the king of the tribe, pretended not to notice. After the incident, however, Kai did notice that Bard's son Leaf, who was his age, was increasingly hostile towards him. "You must be scared," Halfdan said to Kai, with a tone half laughing and yet still inquiring. "I'm never scared," Kai fired back as he began walking again. "I'll catch up with you, Halfdan. I have to get to the known unknown." Nodding, Halfdan disappeared back into the dense fog that first concealed him from Kai. For all his life, there were few times Kai felt scared, even in seasons when war with his tribe's trounced enemies caused concern in others. Kai was often more focused on the present day's struggle and didn't think much about any obstacles beyond that time frame. This made him an incredibly effective worker who sprinted through productivity. But this close attention to what lay only 3 feet in front of him, as opposed to all the possibilities beyond the fog, he knew might catch him sooner or later. And one thing he did know: once someone reached beyond the known unknown, there was no telling how soon they would return.